We are live. We are live. How is everybody doing? I didn't check to make sure that those volumes was up. Can you make sure that the volumes are up? All right, but welcome back to another episode, which y'all already know, Talk Your Shit with me. I have my next guest here in Detroit. Look, in the city of Detroit. And I'm so excited that they actually allowed me to come to their city. They have welcomed me with open arms. I could not thank Bernard enough for actually making this opportunity or creating this opportunity for me. And I actually have a guest here by the name of Glenn. I'm actually let him tell you guys a little bit about himself, and then we're going to dive into what we came to talk about today.
All right. Well, first of all, I'm honored that you would have me sit down and talk, especially I could be free.
Yes, absolutely.
So that's good. I'm going to give it to you. So, but just a little bit about me. I'm from Detroit, born and raised. I did leave Detroit when I was 24 and lived in Minnesota for 24 years.
That's okay.
Yes. But I always had a passion to come home.
Right.
And when I was in Minnesota, I had my own insurance agency. And it was right in the middle of a neighborhood where they had those old corner grocery stores around the houses, but it was converted to an office. But I'll find myself out there because that street I was on was in one of the major drug streets in St. Paul.
Okay.
And I would find myself wanting to go out and talk with the young guys, young people.
Right.
And so, because that's always been a passion, because I understood what they were dealing with, in the mindset coming from that.
Right.
While I was in Detroit. So I wanted to show them that there was another way.
Absolutely.
And so I found myself wanting to do that more than selling insurance. And so eventually I just decided to step out on faith and start a business in Minnesota. And I was contracted with the Department of Corrections to work with youth that were incarcerated.
Right.
And so I worked with them prior to them coming back in the community. So I worked with them maybe 6 months before they release.
Right.
And try to give them focus and try to see things a little different and offer support while they come out. So did that for 7 years, had a few contracts with the county, but I always had a passion to come home.
Right.
And so that opportunity opened up for me, and I came back in 2012 and started a company, Perfectus Consulting, Inc. And we worked with, I went to Detroit Public Schools and met with the principals and said, listen, I want to work with all the kids that you kicking out, getting suspended.
I know that's right. You couldn't have been a better person for this guy. No topic.
So, everybody that's causing problems, I want to work with them.
Right.
I want to work with them and their families. And I want to start off in 3rd grade, but I want to work with them through the 12th grade. Absolutely. I want to build some things.
Hey,
so
that's a big gap.
Yeah, it is. So I partnered with some social workers, and so we headed on and we did that, and so I'm still continually doing that.
Absolutely.
But my passion is to help people.
Absolutely.
And so my next phase of what I'm getting ready to do now is I'm in the process of writing a book.
Okay.
For the first
Congratulations.
time. Thank you. Thank you. And I want to get out on the speaking arena. Try my hand at that and see what that gets me. So
ain't nothing wrong with that. It's gonna be a little bit on the motivational side. I can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're already there. All you got to do is just line up the gigs.
Yeah.
Because you're already doing that.
Yeah. That's a world in itself. I've been reading and studying on it, so trying to find, different ways and I can avoid the headaches and how to do it.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's always going to meet, we always going to meet opposition, right?
Right.
When it's something that I feel like that the Lord has placed in your spirit, right?
That's
and
correct.
now you manifesting it. Everybody's not going to understand your vision.
That's
and they're
right.
going to see it.
Right.
But you have to still make sure you believe in it.
Right.
So you can move forward. So you're definitely going to face opposition because everybody ain't agree.
Right. I look at that oppositions means opportunities for me to grow stronger.
Yes.
And whatever comes my way, okay, this is another opportunity.
Yes.
Let me handle this. How to handle this right? How to learn from this?
I wish more of us could actually look at it like that.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we do. I don't
Right.
think we do. And if you guys agree, or don't agree, for that matter, look, let us know why. So just to make sure that you guys, because I know you guys are probably looking up there in the header as far as to what the topic is today, and it's how do we set up our black children for success? I'm going to say that again. How do we set our black children up for success? And I honed in on black intentionally, right? Because I'm a black mother. We clearly have a black father. And, we want to help everybody abroad, but I think everything has to start soon, right?
Absolutely.
We have to start home. And so that's why I actually singled it to the Black kids. So we're going to get into some areas, because there's several different ways that we can actually set our children up for success. And you done laid out a lot of things, because you done worked in a lot of different arenas. And so we finna dive deep into this. So what are the different areas that you feel like the children actually need help in? Because I got some things that I feel like the kids need some help in, where they could be a little bit more successful. We can teach them how to operate or function a little better.
Okay. All right. So before I do that, I have to lay the foundation.
Come
so
on.
You understand what I'm talking about. And this is my belief.
Right.
You know, I've been seeking information, and I seek truth.
Gotcha.
And so when I'm studying a lot of people wrote books and hundreds of years ago, the Bible and everything, and I get out the true factors that they have in common.
Okay.
And so this is just my belief, what I record, because we only going to act on what we believe.
Correct.
Individual. So let me lay this foundation. I believe strongly in the Bible.
Right.
Understand now that I'm going through life, some of the things that I didn't understand, which is reading scriptures now start to make sense. But I'm stuck in Genesis, the first 2 chapters of Genesis.
Okay.
I've been in there for about 2 years.
Okay.
And I still keep finding things. But one thing I do understand is that we were created in God's image. Now, it's not a physical image, because God's not a physical.
Correct.
So I begin to understand, well, what image is he talking about in his likeness? And the only thing I come up with is all the verses previous to that said God said, and he created. He thought it, and it came to pass. He had it in his mind, had it in reality.
Right.
He gave that to us.
Right.
That's how we created in his image. We all have the ability to think and imagine. Everything we can look around us was in somebody's mind.
Yeah, I agree.
This table, the pen you're holding, the cameras, everything was first a thought.
Right.
So that's the power he gives us when he never took that power away from us.
Right.
And we just don't know we have it, and we use it every day.
I agree.
The power of imagination, desire, and passion, we all have it. So knowing that we all have that passion, that desire,
right.
Learning how to use that effectively is a key for anybody.
Yes.
Now, if you can teach that to a kid growing up, see, to think about it, when we were kids, remember, we used to play, and used to play with little toys, and you used to imagine, we used to take popsicle sticks and put them together, make it an airplane, and act like we was flying around an airplane.
Right.
We could take anything and use our imagination. Some people had imaginary friends.
You can even sit over here. Because we had some people just walk in and I mean interested. I want to make sure that they can sit where they sit where you please.
We had imaginary friends. So imagination was instilled in us from birth. But what happened? As we got older, we got introduced to this thing called school.
Oh yeah, come on now.
Now, not to knock anything from school.
Absolutely.
The system
because
of
it has a place.
Yes, to learn how to read and understand what you read, understand the basics of math. We need all that.
Right.
But what I began to see and set back was more than an educational system. It was a socialism system, meaning that from the beginning, at 5 years old, they taught a group of people to come together, think the same way, do the same thing, take the same tests, learn the same things. When you do that, they move you up to the next grade. Do the same thing, study the same. Everybody. So they're teaching us how to, everybody come together and do the same thing. There's no room for creativity.
I totally agree with you.
So as we get older and older, through the stages of high school, now we're ready to do what? To go work for the another 5%ers who control all the wealth, who have all the businesses.
Correct.
So that they can keep their business going, their wealth going.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about creating our own business. We're not thinking about creating our own wealth. We're not thinking about using our imagination. Because we have spent over 15,000 hours learning how to be fit along with everybody and do what everybody else do. And people say, how do you raise kids? I think of raising the kids like raising cattle. When you think of a farmer that's raising cattle, they don't do nothing but the same thing. They feed the same time, they eat, they go in the same place, and that's all they do. And so that's my concept of the beginning stages of what needs to be done. If you can get that instilled in the child. But first, the parents will have to understand that.
I agree. I mean, because you can't teach what you don't know.
You can't teach what you don't know. So that's why in the Bible it says you have to renew your mind to be transformed.
Absolutely.
So here's the thing. Most people don't desire to be transformed because they don't want to think different.
I mean, but if you don't feel like if you don't find a problem with your original thinking,
right? Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not
so
gonna
you have to, if you want to be something different, you got to do something you never did before.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, you better hush because I definitely jotted that down.
If you're trying to be transformed to something else, you got to do something totally different.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people are afraid to let go of what they're comfortable with.
Yeah.
We can survive. Okay, I know how to do this. I can survive this. Okay, I ain't had no money. I know how to do that. I ain't got no food. I know how to get by with that.
Right.
I'm good. I can live like that.
Correct.
My family living like that. My friends living like that. We good. So there's no desire to get better, to think different, to have more. Not everybody, but most of the people. So you find some people that are born poor, dirt poor, have nothing, and they become millionaires because they, in some part of their life, they had a desire to transform, to do something different, and they were focused. So we have a desire, structured, controlled imagination, and a focus, attention. Without any distraction, we can get anything we want. I believe that.
I agree. I totally agree because I believe that definitely when it comes to like social media. Oh well, I'll back up a little bit because I feel like for one, we don't allow our kids to fully be themselves. Because I feel like it comes, we teach the kids how we function, right? So we don't allow them to, for one, have too much of a voice in the house, which kind of stunts the creativity. So I think it kind of starts there. But definitely when it comes to social media, everybody is doing like what you said with the school system. Is everybody have learned how to function one way, so now we all playing copycat.
Right.
So I feel like if we hone more in onto making sure that our kids can search deep to see what they're good at. They'll find out what their gift is.
Right.
And then you have to teach them how to boldly walk in it. Because first you want to make sure that they're confident in it. So that, because I feel like nothing different can ever be done if it's never done. So we can't all be playing copycat. So if we motivate the kids and encourage the kids to find that talent within themselves and then create a boldness in them and an assurity in them to be able to walk in their own lane, then we wouldn't be around here copycatting.
Exactly.
The majority of the time.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's exactly where you are coming from.
But that's how we were created.
Absolutely.
To create.
Yeah.
We were created to create. God put us here. He put Adam. He said, look, I built this earth. I got all these animals. I need you to take care of them. Go do your thing.
Absolutely.
Adam didn't have no training on how to grow and raise cattle, raise animals, harvest, grow farms. He already had the knowledge. But God gave him freedom to go do his thing. Absolutely. And he never took that power away from man.
Absolutely. Because I think it was planted when you say it was with a thought. So when you have a thought that's planted there, then sometimes we may not have the wherewithal on how to bring that forth, right? So that unknown territory is uncomfortable.
Right.
Right? It's new. You know what I'm saying? So you feel it's pressure. It's a certain amount of pressure there, but I feel like it's all of those things, but it's the best place to be.
Right. Exactly.
It's the best place to be.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's where that creativity comes from. Because definitely with this podcast, never heard of a podcast. I went to an event just to support a cousin who was had her own business. So we just went to support, and she was like, anybody who you know that has their business, because it was like a brainstorming. Like the event was gonna stretch them a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I invited one of my best friends to the event, but she didn't end up going to the event. But I ended up going anyway.
Right.
So I was amongst a whole bunch of people who had a business, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't have anything in my mind that I ever thought about even doing. So when the young lady came to me, she was like, well, what are you doing? She was like, like, what business do you have? And I'm just like, oh, well, I'm here, I'm just supporting, right? I didn't feel away. I'm just strictly here for supporting. But on my way leaving this event, I kept hearing podcasts. You know how you shake something off because you hear it? So I kept hearing it, podcasts. I don't know what that is, but I shake it off. For a couple of days, then it turned into weeks, and then I finally asked somebody. I was like, do you know what a podcast is? Right? So I'm like, it was like, no, I don't really know what no podcast is. So I asked a few more other people, like, do they know what a podcast is? And so I finally found one person who was like, yeah, I know what a podcast is. Then it made me tap into, like, researching what a podcast is. And I came across one particular podcast, and it was about 3 black girls.
Okay.
So when I hit play on the episode, I said, oh, God, I got it. I see. But initially, you don't really know what that is. Right. Didn't even know to act on it. But I believe that if God put it there, then he put it there for not only a purpose, but he's also going to bring that thing about.
Right.
And we be forgetting about the process, but that process actually creates a trust that you have with that which the Lord gives you. So that's how that's how I can work in this arena confidently and boldly.
Exactly.
Don't matter what nobody say, because I know who brought me here and why he brought me here.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But
that's
the way
faith.
it starts. Yeah, absolutely.
But then you're focused, and you have an imagination, you have an ideas, and you're sticking with it. You're not letting distractions come and pull you away. So that's another key part.
Yeah.
You know, you have to go through the process. That's how we learn.
Absolutely.
That's how we get stronger. That's how we get wiser and better. You got to go through the process.
Listen, Glenn,
you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate it because it is a lot. I don't think a lot of people respect the platform of podcasters. Maybe they're starting to, but it's really neither here nor there. If I'm being honest, but if you, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
From a young man and from a girl, it doesn't matter what age, whether it's the beginning stages of their life or middle or up in age, like I think if you could say it's one thing, one of the most important things that you feel like I could take, or you could tell me that would help me on this road to be successful, what would you give me? What would you tell me?
Always be true to you. Okay. Everybody has opinions. Everybody has ideas. But you got to trust you.
Right.
Everybody might not like it, might not agree with it.
Absolutely.
But stay true to you. I mean, there's wisdom out there.
Absolutely.
People can give you some wisdom, but people come against what you gotta block them out.
Absolutely.
You have to.
It's crazy that you even say that, because even when you say wisdom, because when you say someone can give wisdom unto you, I remember a situation or a story that a pastor had told me one day. It was some people in the barbershop. Dude sat in the chair. And he was getting his hair cut, and he was talking to his barber. He was excited about something, right? He was like, man, I always had this question, right, about something in his mind. And he was like, once the Lord finally gave him the answer, out of his excitement, he told the barber, right? So he was so excited that when he got home, he told his wife about it, right? And the wife was like, okay. The excitement level wasn't the same as though his was. So when he went back to the barbershop, he was like, man, I was telling you about the other day and I was excited. He was like, man, I went back to the house and I told my wife, you know what I'm saying, thinking that she would be as excited as well, and she wasn't. It was just so blind, nonchalant, like she just didn't even really care. And the barber told him, he was like, it's because she didn't have the question. You had the question.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. So you know what I'm saying? So when it's somebody else's wisdom, because you can give me that what you got.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
and
good.
It resonates with you, but it may not necessarily resonate with me.
That's
so
right.
when you say believe, you know what I'm saying, or stay true to you,
right.
That's deep. Look,
it is.
That made me feel a certain type of way. That's deep.
It's only you, and it's only one you. If you believe God gave you a purpose, He gave it to you.
Absolutely.
And you just got to trust Him. That's why it's so important to get to know that spiritual person, because we are spirit beings.
Absolutely.
And to understand the importance of that connection. We got access to all wisdom, all knowledge anytime we want it. We just got to know how to tap into it. We got to know. You got to know what that really means. And we don't. A lot of us just go to church just out of a religious thing and thinking, know a few scriptures and feel good on Sunday and forget what the pastor preached on Sunday afternoon. You know what I'm saying? So.
They talk about y'all too in that Bible that y'all love so much, but go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get to why I'm stuck in Genesis, because I'm trying to get to the real man that God created and the power that He gave, because He never took it away.
Yeah.
He never took that earthly power away. We just made choices because we have freedom of choice, but He never took that ability the way look at around us, the way the world is being created. Everything's been created. It's the same power we have. So I'm trying to tap in. I want to know how to tap into it anytime that I want to, and how to get access and wisdom. So if I'm praying wrong, let me know. If I'm doing something that I shouldn't, I need to get to know that voice. So when I need instruction, direction, I know where it's coming from.
Absolutely.
So
let me ask you this, because when we say success, right? Success can be different for everybody. What success is to them. So if I ask you what is success, what is your definition, or what does success look like to you?
Success to me is accomplishing and doing something to the finish that you started to do, that you want to do, and that you want to see accomplished, having it fulfilled, walking through it, no matter what it is, being able to accomplish what you desire and set out to do.
Absolutely.
So everybody think being rich is successful, and that's fine.
Right.
Some people might think just having a garden in the backyard and watching is success. So whatever you attempt to do, establish to do, focus on doing, imagine to do, and having it come through. Have to come to fruition.
I couldn't have said that goddamn better.
Yeah.
I couldn't have said that goddamn better. As a matter of fact, you might have opened up my you know what I'm saying, my horizon on what success is. Because I think when people think that success, because I remember we tapped on this subject a little bit when it came to like motherhood. You know what I'm saying, as far as some of the things that we could teach, and we had a subject about education. But I think that when people think of success, that's normally what they think of, which tends to make us feel less than.
Right.
For all of the people who don't necessarily have these acclimates, right? The education, or definitely when it comes to the money, and when you're looking at social media, they have a certain amount of fame, like that name. You have that. So when we feel like we haven't obtained these things, then we feel like we're not successful or we're unaccomplished. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't allow us to actually appreciate or embrace where we're currently at.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And we get discouraged and not understanding the process. Everything is a process. And we can get discouraged and sidetracked when we leave it to them. So many people start many things and don't finish because during the process, some difficulties might come, or some negative comments or opinions, and we stop doing it.
Yeah.
And that's not success to me.
I agree. And I totally agree. Because when I look at it, right, I say I don't understand. I remember, because I'm a story person, right? And we talk about experiences on this show, because that's how we can relate, right? To let each other know that we're not here alone. But I remember when my kids started getting it, because I was heavily in the church, right? Real heavy. I mean, almost 6 days a week, right?
Okay. Oh, that's heavy.
Yeah. So, kind of know that thing kind of front and backwards in the religious aspect, all of those things about it. But I remember adjusting my life to prevent the kids from going down a certain, well, at least in my mind, I felt like that's what we could do. If we move here, if I stop doing this, if I go a little bit more here, if I sit them down and I teach them, then they're going to go this way.
Right.
Nothing else in my mind even told me that it could not go that way, if I'm being honest with you, right? Because I was a little young when I had the kids. But I remember when they got in them teenage stages. Oh, my Lord of mercy, help me, Jesus, man. Them kids tested everything that was in me. But I remember in that phase of them testing everything, I was like, I went back to the Lord and I was like, well, it don't make no sense, because you say train the kid up, all that good stuff that we was taught, right? And I'm like, so why sacrifice all these things? And then I do that which you did told me to do. In my mind, I think that's what you was telling me to do. You know what I'm saying? So when I do it, how do we get here? How did I get here? So then it made me compare my kids.
Right. Okay.
I was like, okay, well, look at my sister kids, right? We went to looking at, well, you go to looking at the things that she did different than I did.
Right.
And when you think of it from a religious aspect, they definitely different from each other.
Right.
But if you look at the kids in comparison, then my sister kids look way more successful, right? So I got to that place, and it was a little bit more. I'm just using my sister because I know my sister don't mind,
all right?
Right? Because other people could get offended, and we ain't here for that. But if you are, I'll let the Lord handle it, right? So I remember when I got to that comparison, and then I remember the Lord telling me, He was like, "Give them to me." Right? Give them to me. And then what I need you to do, because what that's going to do is going to allow you to let go and trust me with them, right? And it's not, whatever it is that you see, don't never determine whether or not I'm working, that I'm not working by what you see. So I was like, okay, well, what? Okay, I'm hearing you, right? So now break that down for me, Lord. He was like, give them to me and just let it be, and then trust me. He was like, but because doubt gonna come, right?
Right.
Because it may not move, or I may not work how you think I'm gonna work. I already done showed you that. That's what brought you to the table anyways, with me having this conversation for you.
Right.
He was like, but trust the process. I want you to embrace it. Because I know what's best for them.
That had to be high.
You know, they earthly mother, but I'm their father.
Right.
I'm their mother. I'm all of that. So I was like, okay, cool. So it's just important for us to be able to definitely be in that place, man.
Right.
This is cool, look, because
that had to be hard for you.
Very hard.
I mean, I went through that with. I had to do the same thing with my sons because I got a little older and I was just going to church and they didn't want to go, and I had to let them go.
Right.
And I had to trust that I instilled what I instilled in them, that and they'll be good. So I know if I could, especially for a mother. No, that might be a little more difficult.
Because you still be wanting to try to tell him what to do. Because it's not that that he allows you to stop parenting, right? Because you're still a parent, but it changes. But all of those things played a part. Because when my sister passed away, I had those question marks when you go back to the dude in the barbershop. You know, everybody don't have that question, so they may not understand it when you begin to talk about your experience.
Right.
So it was always questions that was planted there, even in my walk when I was heavily in the ministry. Because I was like, it got to be more to it than this, right?
Yeah.
So when my sister passed away, that's when the Lord began to show me Him differently, which allowed me to walk in a different level of boldness, or allowed me to walk in my boldness differently. I'll put it that way. So I think it's very, very, very important. So other areas that we feel like when it comes to things that how we can teach our kids how to function better, or to get more out of how they function in this world. What do you think? How do you feel about morals?
Morals, I mean, you have to have, first of all, you got to have self-morals. You got to have some some boundaries, some self-boundaries that you yourself you're going to make sure that you follow. Right. And everybody knows right and wrong. And everybody knows, what they should and shouldn't do.
Right.
But we still all have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And see, everybody, you have to understand that when we make a choice, we decide to make that choice at that time. That is the choice we made.
Right.
There are always cause and effect, consequences behind any choice we make, whether it's good or bad.
Right.
And so, even if, like, I used to work with kids in the correctional center, I'll tell you about in Minnesota, and I would give them options. I said, let's talk about money. So let me introduce you to some things. There was a game called the Rat Race.
Right.
And it talked about stocks and selling real estate in a game form, some of it to Monopoly, but it used language. So I took it into the juvenile correctional, and we played this game for a couple months. But they got to learn things about money and that they never knew.
Right.
But I said, listen, I want to give you options. So you only know 2 or 3 ways to get money. Let me show you 10 ways.
Yeah.
But you still get to make the choice. But at least you have more options.
Absolutely.
To choose from.
Absolutely.
Now you're gonna have to deal with the consequences either choice you make.
Correct.
Whether it's good or bad.
Look,
so if you know that going in, go do it. Do your thing.
Right.
And so when it comes to morals, you have to have some self-morals boundaries about yourself.
Yeah.
And then once you do that, then you'll respect other people's boundaries.
Absolutely.
And then I think morals will come into that issue.
Yeah.
And you can grow and learn different morals, and you can adapt what you want. But if you have morals for yourself, you respect other people's morals. And that's how it should be.
Yeah. Look, sound good. I think it also allows us to be accountable.
Yeah.
To hold ourselves accountable, because I feel like when we don't have them, right, or you don't create them for yourself, then it allows us to just be willy-nilly. Like we kind of can excuse or justify a lot of things.
We can do anything and just have a reason to justify it.
Right.
And think your reason is good and stick with it, and there it is.
Absolutely.
Until just time the consequence come knocking at your door. years later, months later, whenever it comes, it's coming.
Absolutely. Come through. Come through, Glenn. Listen, come through, Glenn. How you doing, man? Look, we had somebody else come in and sit in. I got to look at my notes, right? So when it comes to, because I see that you definitely, because when I put down mentorship, right, I definitely feel like there's a lot more mentorship that is needed when it comes to not only the girls and the boys, but definitely, when it comes to our boys, it's needed. And I see that you already kind of been tap dancing in that arena anyway.
Yeah.
So do you have anyone in particular that you actually mentor?
Yes.
Even though what you're doing as a whole is actually mentoring.
Yeah, I worked with several. I work with a couple of them now, not to the point as much as I want to. But I do have specific people that I mentor. It's been about 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So they growing up. I met them when they was in 3rd grade. Fifth grade, and then juniors in high school.
How did you go about building that trust or that rapport with them?
I started hanging out with them. It took me 2 months before I gave them any words of advice.
Right.
But I would provide an arena where we can go out to eat, took them to movies, and I would just watch how they interacted with each other.
Right.
I would see who was this and who was that, and I allowed them to be free. After they seen I was okay, they liked the free meals, of course. But I got to know them, and then I went and visited their parents. I went to their home because I wanted to see what their home was like. Because when they leave my presence, this is where they're going.
Absolutely.
This is where they spend most of their time.
Yeah.
So if I was going to be effective in helping them, I had to know what they were dealing with at home.
Yes.
And so I got, cool with the parents, and they trusted me. So I was able to see how they interact with their siblings, what was going on, if there's food in the house.
Right.
Because I don't care what you say. If a kid come to school and ain't no food, he ain't trying to hear about history 101. He ain't worried about food. So, but you got to understand that. And so that's why I built the trust. And so after that, then I began to just slow walking. When I found out the areas that I could see they can improve in, and they listened to me because they trusted me.
Right.
And they had my trust, and they would listen. I see them trying.
Right.
And as long as I saw them trying, that was good because then I could help them because they were trying.
Correct.
A little bit more. So that's how I did. I got to know them, got to build up the trust, and I didn't come in, you shouldn't be doing that, don't do that, don't do that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, because I think we easily reject it.
Yeah.
It's just like pointing out when you just say that someone knows, they already know when they're doing right, when they're doing wrong, right? So I always believed that it wasn't wise to go in to be trying to go in and tell somebody something that you feel like you was told that they need to know, right?
Exactly.
And then you go in here that way. Ain't nobody trying to hear that because you're already coming in here pointing the fingers.
Right.
Right. So I definitely think that that's a wise.
And then that's what they
did
at home.
Really observant too. I like that. Come on. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I thought you was going to say something else, right? So let me make sure. Let me look in here. Hold on. What would you say about when it comes to social media and all these weapons that they put on social media and all the money that they're flashing on social media? What would you tell these young adults? Because it's the young adults
and some adults.
It's definitely adults out here doing. But I want you to hone in. Well, I'm gonna let you hone in whoever it is that you want to say. But what would you tell that young man as far as to how they're conducting themselves or presenting themselves with all of this? What would I even name it? Because I feel like this one is definitely just copying, right? But they feel like it makes them look a certain type of way. You know what I'm saying? When they have the guns on social media and when they have the weapons on social media. How do you think that you can get to that person to let them know and understand that this ain't the best direction to go?
My first line of what I would try to focus on is getting them to know themselves. Because when you truly know yourself and you know what you're about, then you can truly love yourself.
Yeah.
And when you can love yourself, you ain't gonna let nobody come throw you off your mark.
Right.
You don't feel like you gotta follow and do what everybody else is doing if you don't want to.
Absolutely.
Because you're confident in who you are.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you need to fit in to please somebody, or you need to fit into the crowd to be accepted.
Come on, man.
Everybody wants to be accepted. But when you can be accepted being genuinely you, that's priceless. And I think a lot of people on social media, to me, it's technology, it's the way, it's not going anywhere. But I see using it effectively like for podcasts and business things like that, but it is such a distraction.
Absolutely.
To so many people that don't even know it, because all they do is spend all day looking at somebody else's story, seeing what they can know, all that day. But what are they doing to better themselves?
Absolutely.
And so long as you work a 9 to 5 and be on social media and watch TV all day we cool. Just come to work tomorrow so you can keep my money flowing to me and my family's pocket.
Pretty much.
Don't go out and start your own business. Be distracted.
Absolutely.
Except from 9 to 5. I want you to pay attention to me. But other than that, go and enjoy. Watch TV all day.
Right.
Be on social media all day. As long as you're not reading a book, as long as you're not learning how to better yourself, as long as you're not getting wisdom on how to run my business so you can be my competitor.
Correct.
Go ahead. Hang out. In fact, we're going to give you so much stuff to look at. We're going to give you TV. We're going to give you all these shows free. But while you watch them, we're all going to run our ads and come buy our products in between.
Correct.
Come on now, hear me. So we're gonna break up the show every 7 minutes and run what we want. So it's a distraction if you allow it to be. If you think that's a way of life, and what is it about somebody else's business that intrigues you so much that you have to spend all day searching, looking, liking, disliking? Ooh, did you hear that? Boom, 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 all this.
Right.
It's a whole nother world, but it's a world, and there's no doubt about that. But I look at it as because it's taking time away from you bettering yourself, especially if you're young.
Right.
You know, they'll be in a classroom. They be how they phone. Well, instead of listening to teaching and learning a book, they're on their phones, texting back and forth. They're not paying attention. They're not learning. So I think for a young person, if they're not focused on what they're doing, it can only be a distraction down the road. That's just my personal belief. I would tell them to use social media effectively if they're trying to seek specific things, trying to gain some knowledge about something, trying to understand. YouTube is excellent for one to know how to do things.
Right.
Things like
Definitely how to learn how to.
But if you spend all your day on social media just to like and scroll, then you're just wasting time, and time is valuable. We can't get it back. The 10 seconds we just spoke is gone.
Exactly.
History.
Exactly.
It's gone. We can't get it back.
Vital.
The next thing you know, we be 70, 80 years old. Oh, man, looking back on our life, like, what happened?
The time that left us. That flew by. Yeah.
So social media, to me, can be a big distraction if you're not in control of your time and your focus. It can be entertaining. If you look at it as entertaining, it can be productive if you use it for business. So it has many avenues it can be used for.
So I got it's sort of like a two-part question, right? Because what would you tell a young man, right? Because if they have the weapons, right, on social media, and you try to tell them, no, that ain't necessarily the best direction to go with it, right? And they be like, well, I got to let people know because I'm talking about the men, not necessarily the women, right? So they feel like they got to let people know that I'm not to be played with, right? So they feel, and so when you say that, we have to make sure that they find out who it is that they are so that they can walk boldly and confidently in that, right? Yeah. So that way they'll realize that they don't need to function like everybody else,
they're not even thinking smart.
Correct.
I mean, because anybody that posts pictures of themselves with guns,
ignorant.
Already you didn't put a radar flag for the police for anything. But that's just projecting an image. Projecting the image. Now, if that's who that person truly is, that's who they truly are. But most of those people are not, because most people that are hardcore like that, you'll never see them.
Exactly.
Coming, they to themselves.
Correct.
It's those boisterous ones that want to project an image. Absolutely. Because they don't know how to be themselves.
Correct.
So they're trying to project the image. I'm like this, so I got to act this role out, play it out. They don't know themselves. So
what direction would you teach that young man, for the man who feels as though that he wants someone to know, because they haven't gotten there. They have not gotten to a place where they can walk in that what you just said. You know what I'm saying? Well, they know who they is. I ain't ignorant enough. I ain't finna be putting this stuff up here. I already know who I am. You don't want to come this way, trust me.
Right.
They carry themselves a certain type of way. They talk a certain type of way. How would you teach them to? What would you say for them to be able to understand that and kind of walk in that direction? And I'm asking you this. Because I have some kids who function like this.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
And what I tell them, it ain't really getting to them. So I feel like sometimes when it's man to man, and definitely when you have someone who coming from the direction that you is, then I feel like it's something different, that it's a different direction that you can take, that I feel like is enough.
My first thing would be to get to the why. Why do you want to project this image? I want to get to know the exact reason why. Because once I find the reason why, then I can come to them with different options to get that same thing that they're looking for.
Right.
So if I know why you want to project the image of doing this or being accepted, then I can come and show you. Now, if I can show you other ways to get that same desire,
Correct.
without doing that, would you be interested? Would you be
Yeah.
willing to learn that? You got to know the why.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't know the why, then for everybody it's different. So if you don't get to that cause, then you can't address the effect. And if you don't change the effects, you got to change the causes. So that's be my main thing to understand why.
Yeah.
And then if a kid just like that's what he want to do, that's his cause, that's what he'll do.
Yeah, it's a brick
I wish
wall.
what's the best for you.
Absolutely, because they mind made up at that point.
Right.
It's definitely a brick wall.
Right.
So let me ask you this: when it comes to, because we consider it like networking, right? How important is it for you, or do you feel as though that it's important for you to be able? Because now we want to charge everybody for everything, or we feel like we want to keep everything to ourselves, right? It's mine. I ain't trying to give it to nobody. Oh, wait a minute, I can give it to somebody, but I'm gonna make sure that I charge them for it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, what are your thoughts about how we feel about not sharing the gift or the knowledge that could possibly help somebody else either create a lane for themselves or better the lane that they already got for themselves?
Well, I believe because a lot of things that I've learned to help me was from knowledge that was freely given by others. Whether it was through books that were free, whether it was through podcasts or hearing somebody speak that was free. And so I'm a firm believer in that. But those kind of people are givers.
Absolutely.
And they truly, genuinely want to help people and succeed. Then you have some people who do have knowledge and wisdom that going to charge for it because it's a business. I got no problem with that either.
Correct.
If that's the business line you choose, as long as you do what's due. As long as you're giving some wisdom and for the money that they're giving, and you're giving something in return, it's even exchange, I have no problem with that. So that's harmonious to me.
Oh, which one? This one? Okay. All right. So, and I agree. Listen, because obviously I got some battery usage going on in there. Look, my new director back there in the back letting me know. So I definitely don't want it to cut off without us making sure that you get everything it is that we wanted you guys to get in this episode. So we have about 6% left on that battery, is what he just held up on that piece of paper. So if you could sum up something to make sure that you want these people to get from this particular episode, what would you give them?
I would say, know thyself, get on the path to learn you. I would also say, learn to be creative and trust yourself. We're given the power to create. Don't just be giving in to a 9-to-5 working for somebody else. That's good. Don't get me wrong. We have to do that. That's fine.
Yes.
But don't stifle. If you have kids from being creative, don't tell them they can't do that. That sounds crazy. That's stupid. Boy, you can't do that.
Oh my gosh, you need to say that again.
All those things, don't do that. Enhance it. The word education comes from the Latin root educar, which means to draw out. So we go into schools, they putting in, actually we should be drawing out what's in us so we can be creative. And so as parents and that have kids, I would just say trust and master, teach them how to control their imagination, but don't stop it. Help them along with it. Anything they come up to sound crazy, don't tell them it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Encourage them, see different ways you can do it.
Correct.
But be an encourager to your kids and encourage that creativity, that imagination. Let them flow with it.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely. I can wholeheartedly agree, because we go back to that creativity. Man, that's good. Because when we don't know, that's how I think we end up falling in that category. We think we telling the kids that it's crazy. But yeah, I think that's very important. So if you guys don't take nothing, hear what I say, because I think that is very, 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 very vital when it comes to raising our kids. Because for one, they got to definitely know themselves. And then they got to be able to know how to work in that which they was called to.
Exactly.
Take that and allow that to actually make room for them, because their gift will make room for them. Because that's what he said.
Yeah.
So don't be bold, right? Dare to be different, right? So don't let nobody else tell you all them little thoughts that you got in now, because it may be crazy to somebody else, but it was planted in you for a reason. It was there intentionally. Walk in that. I don't care how many questions you got to ask, how many, you know what I'm saying, how much research that you got to do, but walk confidently and boldly in that. And that's what success. That's success. Embrace that whole process. Don't compare yourself. It's not wise. It's not wise. Because then you're going to feel like what we were just talking about a little bit earlier. You're going to feel unaccomplished. You don't feel like you know what I'm saying, you done gained any ground. So I think y'all need to not only share this episode, I think y'all need to repeat this. As a matter of fact, sit down with your kids. Put some things in place. You know what I'm saying?
We just got a compliment for you guys from
Oh, thank you guys.
from Maryland. Remember T. Johnson? Is that it?
Absolutely.
Remember Johnson? Okay. She says, good job, you two.
Thank you. Thank you. Good job, Glenn. Listen. I said I knew Glenn was going to actually, he was going to carry this episode. He got down going because I know how to chat, right?
I was like, where everybody else?
You know, it ain't going to be too many people around when it comes to these type of conversations, but that's okay. Because they still go forward, right? They're only meant to reach that who they're supposed to reach anyway.
Right, exactly.
You can only be receptive to that which the Lord
That's
allowed you to
good.
be
That's
receptive
good.
to.
That's
Right?
good.
But this was excellent. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you for having me.
To even allow me to be able to have this conversation on my platform. I'm greatly appreciative. Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate being here.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, like, comment, share. This will no longer be on the platform once I hit in. It's going to go to YouTube. So I'll make sure that the links and everything so that you guys can go and follow and share and all of those good things once I post that ad. Look, I feel a certain type of way. My spirit done been lifted a little bit. I don't even want to hit in, but we're going to hit in. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. And good night.
Good night.
Peace out.